So this is part of our ongoing series of asking an editor questions you might have. And the question this week is, why does a book often change its cover from hardcover to paperback? Here at Algonquin, where we just publish 30 books a year, we try to give books two chances, first as a hardcover, and then they have a chance to have a second life in paperback. And for you to understand how important covers are, if you just think about what happens when you buy a book, sometimes you buy a book because a bookseller has recommended it that you love and trust. Sometimes it's because a friend has recommended it. Sometimes because it's part of your book club. But other times you walk into a bookstore and a jacket is so beautiful or provocative or funny that you decide you have to walk back out of the bookstore with it. I'm just going to take you through a few examples. Here is A Friend of the Family by Lauren Grodstein, and this is a story of a father who, in trying to do everything right for his son, does everything wrong. It's an amazing book. It got incredible reviews, and it sold very well in hardcover. But when it was time to do the paperback, we decided we should try maybe a different angle. Here we had featured a man in the waves, and it was sort of a moody cover, and it suggested that it spoke both to male and female readers. When it was time to do the paperback, we started to think, well, who is a friend of the family that the title refers to? And without giving too much away, there is one woman in it who causes so much havoc in the story, and that's who we put on the paperback. The paperback also allowed us to feature some of the great blurbs that the book was getting. You can't see them very well on this camera, but there are little blurbs here and there. This is The Watery Part of the World by Michael Parker, which came out this spring. It's a story set in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, set in both the 1800s and the 1970s. And we love this jacket, this moody photograph, for the way it got at the feeling of the book. And it also has, you know, an 1800s ship, and then this bedspread, which also works as a kind of sea, but suggests that there's a lot going on in the book. So this also got great reviews and a great readership, and the booksellers along the Outer Banks said to us, well, why don't you have something from the Outer Banks on the cover? So this spring, when we release it in paperback, we now have this new image, which, as you can see, is set on the Outer Banks, and if you look very closely down here, you'll actually see the ghost of the ship. And we think this will attract readers who had not thought that it might take place out on the ocean. Sometimes you have a book that you like so much the cover that even though you want to revamp it in paperback and give it a new life, you liked what you had in the first place. So we published Big Fish back in 1997 with this jacket, which we loved. It's a great image of, it's a story of a father and a son, and the son trying to get to know the father through the stories he tells. We liked this image of the giant fish jumping through the waves. But when it was time to redo it in paperback, now that we have the rights back, we essentially came back to the same image, but imagined it newly. And you can see here, the fish is a lot more outlined, and he looks a little more menacing, which fits a lot with the feeling of this book and the father, and his relationship with the son. As long as people keep publishing printed books, we're going to keep treating each one like a little work of art and trying to envision it and re-envision it every time we publish it.